Let's talk Tanya for the 9th of Sivan. Today we start chapter 2 of Shar Yuchud V'Emunah. Yesterday we concluded chapter 1 and our discussion about perpetual creation, which is a teaching that the Alter Rebbe, he taught us in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. There's something else that the Baal Shem Tov spoke about a lot and placed a great emphasis upon, which is the idea of Hashgacha Pratis. Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, and to be more specific, Hashgacha Pratis, the word Hashgacha means providence. Pratis means detailed, means how every single detail of every single event or phenomenon or creation is constantly being watched over by God, and everything is at every moment being directed by God. Now, the Alter Rebbe says there are many people in the Alter Rebbe's times and to this very day that they denied Hashgacha Pratis. They didn't believe in that. They didn't believe that God actually pays attention to the minutiae of this world. Yeah, God created the world, and obviously He's in control, and if He wants, He can do whatever He wants. But ultimately, they don't believe that God is actually involved in the day-to-day affairs of what's going on over here in this world. And these people also, they denied the miracles of the Torah. And like we said, till today, many people, you're going to talk to them and say, well, this happened. It's God that did it. Nah, maybe not. The miracles of the Torah, also, they have a hard time digesting and accepting. Now you ask them, do you believe in God? They're like, yeah, sure, I believe in God. Did God create the world? Yeah. So can God do miracles? Of course. Can God be involved in our world? Absolutely. But they don't believe that He actually does miracles and actually is involved in the world. Why not? And the answer is they believe that God created the world whenever He created the world, and ever since, He has better things to do with His life. God doesn't need to be involved in nitty-gritty. He's too great for that. He's beyond that. Dr. Rebbe says, once we understand the concept of perpetual creation, we understand the silliness of that belief. These people, the people who deny Hashgacha Pratis, deny divine providence, they're looking at the world and God as its creator the same way as we view a human creation. So let's say you have a silversmith who makes a candlestick out of silver. Once the silversmith creates the candle, sends it off to the store, it gets sold, someone uses it every Friday night for Shabbos. You don't need the silversmith anymore. He created it. He's gone. He's out of the picture. The people say the same thing is with the creation of the world. Yes, God created the world, but now He's out of the picture because the world exists. Could He interfere if He wants to? Yeah, but why would I assume that He would do that? But now that we understand the idea of perpetual creation, we realize that's nonsense. It's not, you can't compare. What the Alter Rebbe says is yesh mi yesh, creating something out of something, or taking a block of silver and making a candlestick out of it, to creating something from nothing. When you create something from nothing, it requires a constant energy and force that pushes the nothingness into somethingness. Dr. Rebbe gives an example. It talks about the splitting of the sea. So when the sea split, how did the sea split? So the Torah tells us that God caused a wind, an easterly wind to blow, and that wind blew the water so that the water stood like a wall. Now imagine it for 1 second, if that wind were to stop blowing, what would happen? Well, obviously, the water would collapse back down and continue flowing as it always did, which is actually what happened after the Jewish people finished crossing. Why is that? Because the nature of water is to flow downwards. If you want it to stand like a wall, it requires a constant force that's pushing it in that direction. The same thing is also with you're creating something out of nothing. Obviously, the nature of nothing is to be nothing. If I want to force nothing to have a form and to exist, it requires a constant force of God, which, by the way, as we discussed in last chapter, is the Asara Mamaris, the 10 utterances, that forces it into existence at every moment. If God is forcing all of creation into existence at every moment, then Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, is an obvious outcome. Because that means that God is creating and recreating everything at every moment. He is creating and recreating everything exactly as He wants it. There is nothing ever that leaves His control, because everything is being recreated at every single moment. We started off Shar Yuchud V'Emunah saying that this is about God's unity. Okay, so chapter 1, we spoke about perpetual creation. Now we spoke about Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. How does all this lead to a new and deeper understanding of God's unity. That will be the topic of tomorrow's Tanya, next chapter, chapter 3.